Hello, my DC fans. Finally, a glimmer of hope in these dark times it is to be a DC fan. We got ourselves a ton of updates on the upcoming James Gunn DCU, from who our finalists are to become Superman, 2 new actors being revealed on who could end up being our Lex Luthor, and the article even feeding us with just little details about what we can expect to see from Superman Legacy that'll give us a big hint to what the DCU looks like as a whole. I'll be breaking that all down here below, but I still want to hear from you guys. Like I said, it is a dark time to be a DC fan. Whether you were an enjoyer of the Flash movie or not, the movie didn't make a splash at the box office. It didn't give a lot of people the biggest hope for the future of the DC universe. I'm not going to succumb to internet peer pressure and act like I hated the Flash. I am an enjoyer of that movie, but I will admit the end of that film did nothing to help us figure out where is the DC universe headed? Are we rebooting? We half rebooting? We making it up as we go along? What's going on here? So with hearing all these details, these casting choices, I need your honest opinions. Is the future looking bright and hopeful, or are you getting a little skeptical here? Do we think we're going to end up with another reboot come 5-10 years? I hope not, man. I'm tired. All right, so jumping into it here, we got an article from The Hollywood Reporter, which I always say is the Mac Daddy top source. These aren't scoopers. These aren't people running through the Reddit forums trying to make educated guesses and whatnot. No. If anything, a lot of the times with these professional articles, they get their sources directly from Warner Brothers themselves, and this is their sneaky way to give us the information. And well, they have it here. Inside Superman Legacy, screen test as decisions for 2023 drags into second week. The article basically detailing it here that on June 17th, earlier this month, James Gunn was in the Warner Brothers lot screen testing a bunch of different actors, putting them in Superman/Clark Kent clothes, and trying to come to a decision on who our new Man of Steel will be. They have it here written. Gunn, according to sources, assembled 3 actors and 3 actresses for Superman and Lane. Respectively, on Saturday, the first day of testing, the actors were seen in predetermined pairs: Nicholas Hoult and Rachel Bronson, Tom Brittney and Phoebe Denver, and David Cornsweet with Emma McKay. They were given several scenes to film in which the males were in makeup and wardrobe as Daily Planet reporter Kent, while the females were plucky journalist Lane. It would be interesting if they swapped those clothes around. Can you imagine a Superman that pulls off that Lois Lane getup? I'd see it. Now, just talking about it from there, looking at the pairs we have, I find it interesting that they made specific actors pair up with each other. I would think in these Hollywood auditions, there would be some sort of cross auditioning here, not just having them set to one pair. Because what if 2 pairs of actors just have terrible chemistry with each other, and the best chemistry between our future Superman and Lois Lane are in different pairs? Whatever the case may be, if I only had to choose one out of these 3 pairs, I'm going with David Cornsweet and Emma McKay. They just scream Superman and Lois Lane, more David Cornsweet than anything. But again, like we've learned time and time again in the comic book industry, you can look the part 100%, but if you can't act it or deliver on it, might as well not even cast them. The article also goes on to mention that those same male actors came back on Sunday, and this time they were screen testing in a Superman outfit. And I've said this before. We know Robert Pattinson did his screen test for Batman wearing the George Clooney suit. I'm kind of wondering which Superman suit they made these actors wear, because I'm telling you right now, any of these boys wearing Henry Cavill's Superman suit, don't kick a horse while he's down, man. That's kind of disrespectful. Maybe they had them put on the CW Superman suit, or heck, even the Christopher Reeve Superman suit. Get a real classic look feeling, but chances are they were wearing your boy's Henry Cavill suit in there, and man, the disrespect. So that's really what we got going on right there. I'm just really willing to bet all money in the world it's going to go to David Cornsweet. He just most looks the part to me, and from the acting that I have seen of him, I feel like he can pull off a charming Superman. Now, while we jump over here to some Lex Luthor talk, we hadn't heard much about it. The only person we had up rumored was Nicholas Hoult. It was going back and forth with different websites saying Nicholas Hoult was either going to be Superman or Lex Luthor. Now we have some new names attached. Here, the article lets us know that 2 brothers are currently competing for the role of Lex Luthor Alexander Skarsgård and Bill Skarsgård. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I think both these actors are terrific. I saw Alexander Skarsgård in The Northman, where he was a brute, a real force to be reckoned with. He would definitely have some of that physical presence that could maybe intimidate Superman. I know not necessarily in like a physical harmful way, but Lex Luthor still needs to have that kind of confidence up against a man that could just kill him in one punch. But being a fan, the immediate thought we go to who could be Lex Luthor, we start to imagine, what do these guys look like bald? And so I looked up to see if any of them have already been bald in other roles. Alexander Skarsgård, this photo is about to make the rounds, my man. I'm not sure what role he was playing or what was involved here, but this photo did not do him favors for me thinking, would he look good as a bald Lex Luthor? Of course, if he actually did it, I'm sure they would get rid of those round edges there and just go a full bald. But I just kept thinking back to Bill Skarsgård here. Most of us know him as Pennywise, and he's a great Pennywise. Because of that role and him wearing clown makeup, I've seen him being fan casted as Joker for so long. But that sometimes feels like a bit of a lazy choice right there. Even Bryan Cranston, someone who's always been fan casted as Lex Luthor, came out in an interview where he was asked, what do you think about people saying you should be Lex Luthor? And he's like, that's lazy. They see me bald, I look intimidating there, so they just think I would play that role perfectly. That's lazy casting. I think sometimes the best casting choices end up being the actors you don't expect to play those roles, and then they blend themselves into them and blow us away. We've seen it time and time again. And you know, it's debatable whether you thought Jesse Eisenberg was a great Lex Luthor. I was actually up for that, and I like the idea of a Mark Zuckerberg type of Lex Luthor, but to me, it just didn't end up working. And I know there's people who say, oh, well, he was technically the son of Lex Luthor. They put him bald at the end of that movie. For all intents and purposes, they were trying to make him Lex Luthor. So the performance I went to with Bill Skarsgård that I most thought could fit Lex Luthor is his most recent one in John Wick 4. He's suited up, an intimidating figure, works as almost a businessman. He is a lot more whiny though, but you could take that away for Lex Luthor, because Lex Luthor needs to be the kind of guy that can shake your hand, that can win over a room, get in front of a mic, and just trick an entire nation into thinking he's a great guy, enough to where they vote him as president. But behind closed doors, this man is diabolical. This man is planning something, and I feel like Bill Skarsgård has shown us enough of that range. You go to Barbarian, plays a sweet, innocent man when you're wondering, is this guy up to something? Okay, if you've seen Barbarian, you know what I'm talking about. The whole time we thought he was going to end up being some sort of bad guy, but he was just a charming, good dude. And then you go to that John Wick 4 role, and I just can see him blending into it. So honestly, I would pick Bill Skarsgård as the choice for Lex Luthor. I think he could fit it well, and I just think James Gunn is really going to try and go traditional with these guys, try to make them feel like their comic book counterparts. And I feel like we have yet to see a Lex Luthor that we understand why people love him, but then also has that switch to be evil. It's also worth mentioning the article does make it clear that Nicholas Hoult could still be up in the running for Lex Luthor, and if I had it between Bill Skarsgård and Nicholas Hoult, I'm going with Nicholas Hoult. No offense to Bill Skarsgård, but I do think Nicholas Hoult is a better actor, and I feel like he could really blend into that. Now, I mentioned also this article gives us the tiniest detail about what we can expect from Superman Legacy. So here in the article, they mention there are also other heroes to cast, such as a member of a superhero group named the Authority. Part of the new storyline is Superman joining a world in which superheroes already exist. Now, that might seem minor, or maybe like we have heard that before. That's kind of a big clue of what we can expect from Superman Legacy. James Gunn has been very vague about what's in the DCU, what's connected, what's not connected. All we really know is he said, Flash, reset the DC timeline.
That resets the entire DC universe.
And since spoilers, you've been warned, that movie ends with George Clooney as the Batman of that timeline, and James Gunn already confirmed George Clooney is not our DCU Batman. It will be somebody new. That timeline has been put to rest, but those actions will affect this new one we'll be following, the DCU, explaining why some actors can look the same from the previous universe while other ones will be recast. And we've already been told that Superman Legacy will deal with a Clark Kent in like his mid-20s, moving to Metropolis for the first time, becoming a journalist and most likely becoming a more public Superman here, with this little detail of the plot saying part of the new storyline is Superman joining a world in which superheroes already exist. Then the Superman legacy story becomes a little bit more clear to me because it kind of works as a metaphor. It's Superman Clark Kent going from a small farm town, secluded away from the world, and going now to the big city. Tons of people, tons of things going on. It's metaphoric as Superman joining in to this bigger world that we're going to be introduced to. So I think we're going to see Superman Legacy let us know which heroes are active. But now that makes sense why James Gunn has been saying that Superman Legacy is the first full DCU movie, because it'll give you a full scope of everybody. While the director of Blue Beetle just mentioned that Blue Beetle is in the DCU and he can have projects in the future, that movie isn't really going to be teasing the larger world. It's not going to be showing off a Superman in this corner, a Batman in this corner, other heroes. It's going to be self-contained and just sort of act like Blue Beetle's the only person in this world, while Superman Legacy will really give you an idea of how large and how full this world is with superheroes. I'm sure James Gunn could pull it off, but we saw Zack Snyder try and do a similar thing with Batman v Superman. I don't want to get in the argument whether Batman v Superman is a good or bad movie, but I'll tell you, trying to set up the entire Justice League in that one film while also trying to tell a Batman vs Superman movie made it feel very stuffed, very messy. This could go south very fast, but we'll have to wait and see. The question is now, when do they announce these official things? Because Comic-Con is coming up. All the other studios are not showing up to Comic-Con. Warner Brothers is still on the fence, and they have Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 coming out. Is announcing the new Superman movie gonna support those films or only hurt them? But this is where I toss it off to you guys. You see all these details, you see all these casting updates. Do they make you excited? Do they make you hesitant? Your speculation with that little bit of plot, I'd be happy to hear it all down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.